Okay, thank you everyone for joining this public training expert. Today's topic is 5 level of reusing HTML and CSS snippet in DK. So let's start. This is today's outline. So I will tell you how to reuse in different level DK. You can reuse the HTML and you can turn it as a template and even turn it as a component. So today I will tell you how can be if it's easier to reuse web UI. So I think you have experience. Have you ever want a component but it's missing in DK, or maybe you see a web UI that is what exactly what you want? For example, you might see something in a web like this. You might want something like this kind of box, or this kind of card, something like this. Or maybe you can see this kind of, you will see this kind of menu, just call it mega menu here. It's another website. But if you want this kind of mega menu, and if you want to customize ZK's existing menu component into this mega menu, you might pay a lot of cost, and it's sometimes a little bit hard, and you might not get a very good result. So since it's quite simple, you can see its code is here. So why don't we just reduce this code, this HTML and CS to NZK, which is easier. So let's use this mega menu as an example to tell you how you can reuse your code snippets. You can learn the principle and apply to another web UIs in the future.
Sorry, Hawk, there is a noise.
Noise, okay. Maybe it's some fan. Okay.
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay. Okay, the first one is about to reuse HTML CSS. To reduce HTML CSS in Joule, you first need to know the XML namespace. So someone don't hear anything. It's the other. I think it's okay. I saw you. Okay, it's okay. The sound is okay now. Okay, if you have a problem, you can type your message in the chat channel, then we will check. Okay, so first you need to know the XML namespace. And the XML namespace you can see in ZK's documents. It's a way to let you mix the HTML component inside Azure. For example, because by default, if you use any tag in Azure, it will be Azure component. For example, like here, if you specify a div or a V layout, it will be turned into a ZK component. Or if you specify image, there will be turned into a ZK component. So by default, every tag you specify in Azure will be translated into a ZK component. But sometimes you want to mix the HTML tag in Azure. So first you need to declare you'll need to declare as a namespace here, for example, XMLS native. Then there's a prefix here. So when you specify a tag with a prefix n, you can give whatever prefix you want. You can give h or n or anything. So if you specify prefix n, comma, n colon, then these tag will ZK will treat as a HTML because you specify namespace. There are several namespace you can check here. Rule namespace. The default we use if your file is, for example, end with ZUL, then the default namespace is ZK. So every tag will be translated into ZK components. But if you declare a namespace, either call it native or you can use this long URL, then ZK will treat it as an HTML component, HTML tag, sorry. It's not a component. The ZK will treat it just like a native HTML. So it's not dynamic. You will just render as what you type in the UL. So this will be a HTML tag. This will be HTML tag. So this is how the result will be like this. It will render as a HTML tag as what you type. So if you have a typo, then ZK will not check for you because it's just a text for ZK. So the first step we need to use, first you need to, if you want to mix the HTML tag with XML namespace, then you need to declare. So we can see in our first example, here you can see we can specify the namespace here. So because we have more HTML text than ZK, so I declare the namespace as the default namespace. So I don't need to type n colon for every text. And instead, I declare ZK as with the Z prefix. So because there are less ZK components, so you can save some cost of typing. So first step, we just copy paste. We just copy this whole HTML into ZK. Declare this namespace and copy here. Then it's done. If you just want what he looks like. And the second is there is a CSS. Okay, so you can also, there's a CSS here. You can just also copy this whole CSS because I think this example is just implemented by HTML and CSS. So you copy the CSS and put it into an independent CSS file here. So you can see it's here. You just copy here. Yeah, sometimes you need to do some modification because sometimes some CSS rule will conflict with ZK. So after copy paste and render, you need to check. Yeah, I do some minor modification, but yeah, it depends on every case. So after copy HTML and copy CSS, and I include the CSS here, you will see if I run it in a browser, you will see in the first result looks like this one. This one. This is the mega menu one. So if you hover here, yeah, you can see it's just exactly the same mega menu as you see in its original page here. Okay, so this is the first simple reuse it. Just mix HTML tag with in ZK, and you can copy paste HTML CSS. But usually when you copy HTML, it's static, but you want some dynamic effect, like something I want when I click link, it will show something or do some operations. So it cannot be just a pure HTML. You need to wire if a listener on it. So in this case, we need to do more. So for example, we can keep everything static as a HTML, but we need to, when I need to implement a feature like when someone clicked the link and I want it to fire event, I want to show some message. So in the original page, it's just an anchor, a tag. But in ZK, I need to replace with ZK's a component. So that's why I declare 主 here. So I can replace the HTML8 with ZK8 with prefix Z colon. So now it turns into a ZK component. So when I click this link, it will fire on click event. So I can capture this event and implement something in our composer. So you also need to turn the parent component, the parent div, into a ZK div. It cannot be a HTML div, or you cannot specify apply, or the apply doesn't work. So you need to replace part of the component you want to dynamically change it. So for example, here, the div, original div is just HTML. But because I want to listen some event, so I need to replace it as a ZK div. So now you can see after this replacement, yeah, and you can see the results. When I hover it, and I click the link, it will show something. Okay, so this is the first step. Just straightforward reuse HTML and CSS with HTML tag, and you can replace some part. You don't need to replace all HTML tag. If it's just static, and just keep it static. Keep it as HTML tag because you don't want to dynamically change it. So just replace some of it. Then let's take further. The next step, you can reuse it as a template. And as a template, and first we can reuse it as a template tag. So you can see the second step here, maybe some kind of component in regarding the menu, maybe you just need it once. So maybe it's not necessary to declare as a template. But if you think there's some kind of a box component or car-like component, I think you maybe want to use it in several places in a page. So I think you don't want to copy paste. That's a problem. And when you want to change it, you need to change it in multiple places. So you can declare the whole menu here. You can see the whole menu here. You can put it inside a template. So and do it the same. Just copy paste. You can see copy paste the tag and put it under a template tag. And you can give it a name. And then you use apply to inject the template. Because if you just declare a template, it doesn't render on the page. So you need to inject with apply this template as a template. So then the result will be very similar, like you see here in the second mega menu 2. So just exactly the same, but it's reuse a template. Okay, and when you reuse the template, there's a benefits that you can send a parameter. For example, I want to replace the first link and second link. So there's a menu 1, and I can access with menu 1 and menu 2. So you can pass any parameter you want. So if you check the page here, the first and second menu is not the original page is home and news, but now it becomes file and edit because I replace it with a parameter. So okay, I can also change to, for example, change to show, something like this. So by replacing this parameters, you can see will change. So it's parameterized. So it's a page scope template. You need to define it and inject with applied, and it can be parameterized. And when you the parameter doesn't have to be specified on the page because it's static. So DK will resolve EO expression. So like here, you use the EO expression, so he will resolve these variable in a specific order. So you can check here. There's an order. You can resolve execution, and you will look for component, for page, for desktop, session, application. So it doesn't have to be specified in the rule. You can set an attribute in the desktop or in a component. So you can see the menu one here. The menu one here can come from a components attribute called menu one, or it can come from a page attribute or desktop attribute or section attribute. So you can reuse this template in different contexts. It might show different values depending on the attribute value. So this is the second way of reuse it. We turn it as a template, and you can parameterize. But if you want something more than dynamically, if it's in MVC pattern, then you need to know more about this. I don't go into detail. You can check more. You can, with MVVN pattern, you can just using data binding to change the parameter or change the template URL or change the template name. But in MVC, you need to wire the shadow component and control it directly. So you can call a method to re-render it or even inject it. So it's very useful. You can call the applied and call it to re-render again. If there's something changed, for example, the menu one change, you can call it to re-render the whole menu again. So you can dynamically control the applied with even in MVC or MVVN. Okay, then let's go into the next level. The next level is you reuse it as a rule because the template is page scope. So you can just reuse the component in the same page. But if you want to reuse it another page, then there's no way. You need to specify like this. So we need to first separate it into a separate page. For example, the mega menu rule. So let's check the mega menu rule. That's here. So it's the same step. You can just copy paste the HTML, put it here, replace some HTML tag with ZK components. But there's one thing difference is I need to use style here. Style component, style tag instead of style directive, because this directive will not be processed when you use applied. So it will lose the style. So when you want a rule to be reused like this, if someone will inject, another page will inject this page, then you need to put the style here. If you use a directive here, yeah, it doesn't, ZK will not process this when injecting a page. So first you need to put your text and all your logic inside a rule, a separate rule, and you can see this rule only contain this menu. Okay, and the CSS file is required. So, and now this is the first step. Then now I can inject the menu with apply and specify template URL, make a menu, and I can still pass the parameters here. Okay, so if you see, the result, you can see the mega menu 3 here. You can see reuse template rule, and it's the same. And the two menu is view and navigate, because I specify here view and navigate. Okay, so this is the second way. It's the third step, third level. So let's go even further. So we want to reuse it as a page scope component. then we need to declare it as a component directive. Okay, so you can see there's a process instruction directive here. You can declare here and with template. So let's see the next level. You can declare a component here, mega menu and template URL with this mega menu parameterized. Okay, so first we need to, also need to put it into a separate page. But this time I do it more further dynamically. I make the menu as dynamically. So I can use shadow elements for each to render 3 columns, and each column has its own items. So you can see there's a for each menu list, and each menu list has items, and each item has a link. So for this kind of, you can see this page, it doesn't have any composer because it will resolve the menu list when he was inject. So you should set an attribute menu list in a specific scope, maybe in page scope, or desktop scope, or application component scope. Yeah, it depends on your environment. So you can see we can check the dynamic mega menu composer here. Okay, that's here. So I need to prepare my menu. So you can see there's a menu list I construct here. You can construct this kind of menu from database or from some data dynamically from some configuration. So you can see I just create a menu list, legal, finance, item, and I set it as an attribute of a component. So there's a component key here, menu list. This key must match this, So you can see must match this variable name. And each object inside should have an items property. So you can see here it's a menu, and the menu has a item properties, and each item, to simplify, I just use a string, but this will represent a link. Okay, so I construct these 3 menus, and I set it as a menu list, and I also set a menu title called extra function. So here we have a menu title here, we have a menu list here, and so that's all. So in the mega menu 4, I applied with my composer, and the composer will create a menu model for the mega menu. And if you declare as a page scope component, you can just use it, use a tag name. So you don't need to specify apply template URL, a very long tag or very long text. You can improve the readability and make it very short, just call mega menu. So, and specify the URL here. So here you can see if that's check the mega menu for so you can see we use a page scope component, then you can see that link, the menu title become extra function, and there are 3 columns, each are legal, finance, management. It's dynamically generated from my composer, and my composer can get data from database or other resources. So you can dynamically generate these menus, and even in different case, you can generate different content. So you can improve the readability. Okay, the next level, because the template, if you declare, it just declare in a directive process instruction is just page scope. So it can be used in that page. But if you want to reuse in a different page, or if you want to separate your component into a different module, and then maybe the main module want to reuse it in different place, then it doesn't work. So if you want to reuse it in a vacation scope, you need to define it in language add-on. So let's check language add-ons in the project here. So in the language add-ons, it's a place to extend your component. And here, you can declare a component. It's a component name, for example, mega menu, or and then specify the URL is the UI composing, mega menu parameters, or you can use the class path reference source path, like tilde dot something like this, like tilde dot. This is also a way. So just specify URL and specify the language add-on, give the name you prefer, and remember to depends on the UTI because it's a DK user template injection. Okay, UI template injection. So this is a special module that contains the shadow element like apply for each. So since you want to use the template and apply, it exists in this module, so you need to depend on this module. So it will process this template URI. So this is the first step. You need to declare it as just like other custom component, and then declare it in language add-on. Then if you everything is this is a convention, ZK convention. So you must name the file as a lang-addon, and under this path, meta info ZK lang add-on. So ZK will, when it starts, when a ZK base application starts, you will try to parse and check the file. Does it exist in the web source? It exists in class path. If there's a file, such file, it will parse this and turn this as an application, turn this as a component. So first, yeah, you need to define, and it depends on the UTI. Then after you declare when it starts, then ZK will know there's an extra component here. So then you can use here, you can use the mega menu here, for example, and you can apply the composer here. So this is also a way that you can check, for example, if you don't apply the composer, that it will show a no menu. Okay, so let's check the final result. If you reuse it, so you can see it's totally the same result as step 4, level 4. So you can see here, you use the mega menu here, but you don't see any component declaration here. Just like this is the mega menu 4, there's a declaration here so that you can use mega menu. But in mega menu 5, you can see there's no declaration. So that's because we already declared in our language add-on. So that's you can reuse it. So you can reuse it in different Zool, and if you apply different composer and provide different menu title or menu list, then it will render in different menu, different content. Okay, so this is the level 5 reusing. Okay. Okay, so in this case, today I will put all my source code here. If you check our ZK Books repository developer reference, you can check the developer UI composing. There are all the files you can check here. 1, 2, 3 5. You can reference it to build your own. And for the state box I just show you, at the beginning that you can also check ZK naming template. If you want to reuse this, this is also a way, an example that I reuse from a third-party website, and I just grab their HTML and CSS to build this kind of box. So this also contains a way how you can reuse it as a component. So it's in the source code is here. Okay, so this is basically today's the training. So how to reuse from Richlet? Because the Richlet is also the whole is pure Java, so you can do it by execution create components. For example, either you create HTML by yourself, but if you don't want, you still want to create by Azure, you can create something like this. There's a conditional Azure in Java, so you can see create component here. So in Richlet, you can create component either by new statement, like new my button, new everything, or you can just create component. So you can still prepare a rule like this one. You can just specify a rule like this one and specify the parameter here, and then you can create components based on this rule. Okay, so that's a way that you can use it in Richlet. Yeah. So is there any other question? You can unmute yourself, or you can type your question in the chat channel. Okay. So let's quickly summarize what I taught today. First, if you want to reuse HTML or CSS, then just copy and pass into rule and declare the first you need to declare the native namespace and copy the HTML and CSS into the rule. So and maybe replace some of HTML tag ZK component. Then if you want to reuse it multiple times, you can declare as a template and use apply to inject the location you want. And if you want to use it in different page, you can put it in a separate rule and use apply to inject the whole rule into one rule. Or you can declare it as a page component, page scope component, so that you don't need to use apply. You can use shorter name or more readable name in a page. Or you can declare a language add-ons so that you can use it like a custom component in any place of your application. Okay, this is today's training. If no one has questions, then thank you for joining this today.